Is your favorite NFL quarterback overrated, underrated, or properly rated? I am going to decide that in this tier list right here. Make sure to leave a thumbs up if you end up enjoying this video, and let's get right into the tier list. First quarterback we're going to talk about is Justin Fields. Look, I don't think anybody's really saying the Jets are going to be more than a 5 or 6 win team, which in my opinion falls a little bit on like Justin Fields. Nobody's really saying he's going to have a great year. No one's saying he's going to be absolutely terrible, unplayable, which to me puts him in that properly rated category. I think it's still fair to put him there. I can't say he's underrated because he hasn't shown anything to be underrated yet for what he's being talked about. Moving on to Tua. Tua. He is a underrated quarterback. I don't even know if I have to explain this, but we saw every time he goes out with an injury, the Dolphins are terrible. If it was any other quarterback, they'd be like, oh my gosh, look at how good Joe Burrow is because they're so bad when he's not playing. It's all Joe Burrow. No, it's clearly all Tua because Tyreek Hill can't produce without Tua or Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Waddle couldn't produce. Devon Achane couldn't produce. Maybe it's on Mike McDaniel a little bit, but Tua is underrated. He is the whole catalyst of that offense, and his amazing accuracy really puts him in that underrated tier. I think he's closer to top 10 than he is bottom 10. Moving on to Drake May. Is Drake May overrated, underrated? I think that Drake May is becoming overrated, and look, I'm a Patriots fan. You can see it right there. I am a Patriots fan. But why is he being talked about like he's in that top 15 talks, like he's the best rookie from the class or second best rookie from the class? I don't know if he's even proven to really be better than Caleb Williams. I don't think it's fair to say that Drake May can lead this team to the playoffs when we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen him pull together wins. We've seen high moments. We've seen good flashes, but he's had a lot of chances at the end of games to win them, and it just didn't happen last year. Of course, it was his rookie year, but I'd love to see him take that big step next season before I start saying that he's a playoff caliber type quarterback. Moving on to Josh Allen. Is he underrated, overrated? I think Josh Allen is properly rated. I don't think anybody's saying he's the greatest quarterback of all time, and nobody's really saying that he's bad or not a top 3 quarterback because he is. If you are saying that, then you're underrating him because Josh Allen's the MVP. I still would have given it to Lamar, but Josh Allen is very underrated, or properly rated, I'm sorry. Moving on to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, if you asked me this like 3 years ago, I would have said he's overrated. When he went on that Super Bowl run, that was not because of Joe Burrow. I would have said that he was overrated. I don't like that he gets so much credit for going to the Super Bowl, despite I don't really think he was the reason. He played great in the Super Bowl, but to get there, I wouldn't give him all the credit in the world. That defense was something special that year, and that can't go unnoticed. However, this past season has proven to me that Joe Burrow is no longer overrated. I'd argue that he's properly rated. Everybody has him in that top 5 category, and I think that that's completely fair. I would like to see him play without Jamar Chase. He's one of the top quarterbacks that I haven't seen play without elite weapons, and I'm just curious to see how he'd be because we've seen Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes all play at a high level without elite weapons, so I'm curious to see how Burrow would be without his guys and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Moving on to Deshaun Watson. Okay, is Deshaun Watson underrated, properly rated, overrated? I don't think any of those tiers really can make sense. I think that there's only one tier that Deshaun Watson belongs in, and I think that that would be this tier right here. I don't even need to say it. We were all thinking it. Deshaun Watson. Moving on to Joe Flacco. I don't really know where to put Joe Flacco because I see a lot of comments talking about how good he was in Cleveland, but then I also see things that are like, he's terrible, and I kind of agree. I think he's terrible. I'll put him in properly rated. I don't really know where to rate Joe Flacco. Moving on to Lamar Jackson. Let's talk about maybe the most underrated quarterback in the league. Why is Lamar Jackson still being disrespected? I know he doesn't perform as highly in the playoffs, I guess. Not acting like Mark Andrews isn't the reason that he's lost a couple playoff games, but Lamar Jackson remains underrated, multiple-time MVP. He's a Hall of Famer. It is what it is. Moving on to Mason Rudolph. He's teetering between human garbage and underrated. I think Mason Rudolph's underrated. I'm not going to lie. I think Mason Rudolph is actually solid. He the last time we saw him in Pittsburgh, I'm pretty sure they had a winning record. I don't think Pittsburgh's in that much of a panic mode to have him as the starting quarterback. They still could sneak in at 10-7 with Mason Rudolph because he's not really that bad. Even when he played with the Titans, he wasn't that bad. I don't like him being called out as like the worst quarterback in the league because I don't think he is. Moving on to Anthony Richardson. Let's talk about another underrated quarterback. We're putting way too much pressure on this kid who has not played that many games of football in his entire career as a starting quarterback. Give him time to develop. Why are we throwing stones at him already? We knew he was a project quarterback. Give him the time to develop. It's year 3. I expect him to take that leap now. We've seen huge flashes of potential to be a good quarterback. And the Colts are always in that 500 range with him starting. When he starts, they're good. He just needs to be healthy for the whole year, fix his mindset, and he will be a good quarterback of the future. He is super underrated. Moving on to Trevor Lawrence. I don't know where to put him. I think because people are still saying he could be really... Nobody's saying he's good, though. I want to put him in overrated, but we'll put him in properly rated because nobody's saying he's elite. People are saying he's terrible. I don't think he's terrible. I'm putting him in underrated. He really fits almost in all three. You can make the argument. I think he's underrated. I saw a lot of Jaguars games last year come down to a lot of wide receiver drops, and I can't put that on Trevor Lawrence. I think he's a little bit underrated. It's like teetering between that and properly rated. Moving on to CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is a properly rated quarterback, maybe overrated, but he's somewhere in between there. I thought he was actually underrated last season, overrated the year before, so I think that's fair to put him in properly rated. Moving on to Cam Ward, you can't really evaluate Cam Ward, but I think he's being underrated. Nobody's talking about Cam Ward. He was the first overall pick. He could be really good, and nobody talks about him. All we're talking about is a 5th round pick that went to the Browns. I've even seen more coverage on Jackson Dart. Where is the Cam Ward love? This guy could be a very good quarterback. We haven't seen it yet, but he's underrated. Moving on to Bo Nix, another one of those year 2 quarterbacks that I think is overrated. Look, he gets the job done, and I appreciate that. He is perfect for his role, but I don't think he's an elevator quarterback. He's like a Jared Goff. He's one of those quarterbacks where he's really good in the system, can do his thing, limit turnovers, get the checkdowns, throw a deep bomb once in a while when you need to, but I don't really see him as a quarterback that's going to raise your ceiling, which I think a lot of fans do see him as. He's a field general, and it is what it is. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I just think he's a little overrated. Moving on to Geno Smith. Man, I think a lot of quarterbacks are underrated because why are people acting like Geno Smith is not top 10 in the league? People come at this guy, Nico Elite Takes has him in his top 10, and I see thousands of comments saying that he is nowhere near a top 10 quarterback. What are you talking about? Geno Smith is obviously top 10. Have you ever watched him play football? Dang. Okay, Justin Herbert, he's overrated. He is overrated. Let's talk about it. Justin Herbert is just, what are we talking about? Playoff choker, good regular season player, but again, he hasn't proven to win in any big moments, including the regular season. And I know he doesn't have incredible weapons, but we've seen quarterbacks perform without him. He is Mr. Hypothetical. Everyone's like, what if you had this, and this? I don't care. Overrated. Moving on to Patrick Mahomes. I think he's properly rated, if not underrated. You know what? He is underrated. People are not talking about him like he's still not the best quarterback in the league. He is the best quarterback in the league. There's not really much else for me to say about it. Moving on to Dak Prescott. I think that he is the Cowboys quarterback, which makes him underrated, but I don't really think he's that good, so I'll put him in properly rated. I think he gets too much hate. He's overhated, but I don't think he's underrated. Dak Prescott's properly rated. I think everyone knows he's about a top 12 to 8 quarterback, and I think that that's completely a fair ranking. Moving on to Jaden Daniels. Dang, I have a theme here putting these quarterbacks in overrated. A lot of second-year quarterbacks in the overrated tier. Let's get Jaden Daniels out of top 5 quarterback discussions. I'm sorry. Jalen Hurts not being in the conversation, but Jaden Daniels being in it is not fair. It's not right. It's not just. And for that reason alone, Jaden Daniels is overrated. Moving on to Russell Wilson. Is anybody really saying he's going to be like elite? Is anybody saying he's going to be terrible? No. I almost want to put him in underrated, but we'll put him in properly rated. He's just a mid quarterback, and everybody knows that. Moving on to Jalen Hurts, he might be him and Lamar up there for the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. Why is Jalen Hurts constantly being disrespected? Because he has a couple wide receivers? So does Joe Burrow. But Jalen Hurts has 2 Super Bowl appearances to show for it, including a win over Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I know Burrow beat Mahomes one time, one time, but he's lost to him ever since then. Jalen Hurts, however, has competed in every game he's stepped on the floor with Patrick Mahomes and shown that he's the better quarterback in each of those games. Why are we disrespecting Jalen Hurts? It's unreal. He deserves so much more respect, so much more love. He's a top 5 quarterback. He's the best quarterback in the NFC. Put some respect on Jalen Hurts' name. Okay, moving on to Jared Goff. Let's talk about an overrated quarterback. Man, that NFC playoff game where he threw all those picks, he had another game with like 4 interceptions that they won in the regular season. Why are people trying to tell me that he is better than Geno Smith? He is not better than Geno Smith. I'm sorry. He can dink and dunk his way to the field or hand it off really well. He is a great person he's really good at handing the ball off. But he is just not a top 10 quarterback, and everybody talks about him like he is. I'm sorry, he's not. Jared Goff is not a top 10 quarterback. He is overrated. Jordan Love, I think he is... he falls in all 3 categories. He's overrated when people... Going into last season, he was overrated. Going into this season, I almost want to say he's underrated, but... I think that everybody has just tempered their expectations on Jordan Love for the year. I think that everybody thinks they could be a playoff team, and Jordan Love will do well. I think that he's properly rated, maybe leaning towards underrated. Moving on to J.J. McCarthy. I don't know if you can really rate J.J. McCarthy. Going into last season, I would have said overrated, but he hasn't played, so we'll just put him in properly rated. Nobody has high expectations for him, which is completely fair. Moving on to Caleb Williams. This guy's underrated. I don't care. He was pressured so much last season. I know he took a lot of the sacks. A lot of it's on him, but I don't really care. He wasn't that bad. I think that he's another quarterback. You just give him some time. He's young. I'd say he's on the more underrated side. Nobody's saying he's an elite quarterback, so he can't be overrated. And everybody's talking about he's like a bottom 5 quarterback when he's not that, so he's underrated. Moving on to Bryce Young. If your favorite quarterback is Bryce Young, you got to be happy because he might be, I know I keep saying it, but he might be the most underrated quarterback in the league. He had a great end of year last year, and I still think he's getting slightly disrespected. He's slightly coming back down to properly rated. People are recognizing his game and how good he could be, but he was quietly one of the best quarterbacks at the last season from like weeks 9 and on. He was fantastic. Moving on to Baker Mayfield. I think that Baker might be slightly overrated, but I'd put him in properly rated. I don't really know if I'd put him in that top 10 range, but I see a lot of people do it. I think that he's good, a little bit more of a product of his situation, but his determination to get first downs on running plays is just immaculate. It's awesome to watch. Spencer Rattler, we'll just put him in overrated because I see Saints fans always calling for him. Put in Rattler! Spencer Rattler is the future. No, he's not. He's the future practice squad captain, maybe a UFL legend, but I don't see it in the NFL. Michael Penix Jr., talk about underrated. He was so good for them last season. So good. So good when he came in. Falcons should be a playoff team next year. Maybe I'm overrating him, but he's going to be an excellent quarterback. Brock Purdy. I think that Brock Purdy is becoming underrated. Wow, I have a lot of underrated quarterbacks. Damn, I can make a top 20 underrated quarterbacks video. Brock Purdy, I think that he's underrated, maybe slightly leaning towards properly rated, but he didn't have anybody to play with last year, and he wasn't as good. Obviously, that's what happens. When he has everybody, he looks elite. I think he's somewhere in that mid-range, but we can't talk about him like he's a terrible quarterback, which I see way too many people do. Matthew Stafford, I think he's becoming a little bit overrated and riding the coattails of his past successes. Last year was an obvious dip in production. He did not look like the same quarterback last season. The year prior, he looked like an MVP candidate. So this year, maybe I'm underrating him a little bit, but this past season was not his best year. Moving on to Kyler Murray. I think he's properly rated. Look, I overrate the hell out of Kyler Murray. I think that he's the top. I love to say he's a top 10 quarterback. He's not anymore. He last season he dipped out of that for me, which puts him in that properly rated tier. Nobody has him in the top 10, but nobody should have him in the bottom 10 either. He's in that 10 to 20 range. Sam Darnold, I think that he's probably properly rated. Nobody's saying he's elite. Nobody's saying he's terrible. He's just an average quarterback that everybody's saying that. So I think that that's completely fair. The last but not least, Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers. He is underrated. He had a good statistical season last year, 4,000 yards, decent touchdown to interception ratio. I think that he's still an underrated quarterback. Do I think he's an elite quarterback? No, he's not the same old Aaron Rodgers, but he's an underrated peace. If he has all the right stuff around him, the same way Jared Goff does, the same way Bo Nix does sometimes, the same weapons Matthew Stafford has, I could see him being having a good season and leading a team to the championship game, maybe not the Super Bowl, but deep into a playoff run. Aaron Rodgers is still fully capable. This is my final underrated, properly rated, or overrated tier list. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you agree with, disagree with? Did I get most of it right? I feel like this is a fair list. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, y'all, peace